dive into it. So let me go. Would you let me know, please, if the screen is sharing or not? Do you guys see like the thing that says 3 Easy Website Tweak? Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So that is absolutely what we're going to talk about. 3 easy website tweaks to get more leads and better clients. And so the three things I'll just real quick are clear messaging, well-placed and well-designed CTA, and scannable headlines. And before we kind of get into the meat of this presentation, what I'd like to do is scroll too quickly through my slides. No, what I'd like to do is ask you a question. So does this sound familiar? Do you have a website, but it's kind of like your crazy uncle, right? You're kind of embarrassed to send people to your site. Or, are you struggling to figure out what to tweak on your site to make it better? You've tried a couple of things. You spent hours on Google trying to, string together a few pieces to try to get done what you want to get done. Or on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most frustrated, you're rating about a 15 on the frustration meter because you've tried the things, it's not quite working, and you're kind of at the point to where you'd like to toss your computer out the window. If that does sound familiar, it's not your fault, right? Because there's big companies out there that are telling you that in order to get yourself a website, all you have to do is, drag and drop, click a couple buttons, and easy peasy, you're good to go. But there's quite a bit more to it than that. In fact, there's quite a bit of psychology and best practices, design principles that go behind getting a website that actually does what you want it to do. And so if that's you as well, you're in good company, right? Like I've been there too. This is kind of like my journey, right? So my first website journey into WordPress, and we'll kind of take a closer look at that as we go through. So where I started was with coding, right? So if you look at a web page, there's basically 3 coding languages that are making that web page work. Those 3 mainly being HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And so the reason we're looking at a car right now, or things related to a car, is because it's a pretty good analogy. So your HTML is kind of like the structure, the framework, if you will, of your website. The CSS is like the paint job on a car. It's the things that make your website look the way that it looks. And then the JavaScript is what powers you. It's like the car engine. It's what powers your website to do the things that it does. And so the example, just to kind of illustrate that, is, of course, if you get somebody, like you take a musician like myself and you teach them how to code, you get a drum kit, right? So it's just kind of a fun example of how those things work together. And so if we go ahead and go back, I do want to just kind of lift the cover back a little bit so that you can see how exactly it is that those pieces of code come together, because I think it'll just make a little bit more sense. And so if we go into, this is a thing called CodePen, just to kind of show you what the structure is, because it'll make more sense when I go to tell you about what my first website looked like. What we'll do here is we'll just go ahead and pretend that the CSS is in here so that you can see what it looks like just to have the straight up structure. So we can see that the structure is just the title, right? We've got the blocks there. And then I happen to be living in Missouri at the time, so made with love in Missouri. So that is just straight up HTML code. That's our structure. If we put the CSS back into place, we can see that, it gives it the look. And then if we take a look over here, this is our JavaScript. And essentially what it does is it says, hey, pay attention to what's going on with the keyboard and with the mouse clicks. And if somebody happens to click on this particular square or that particular square, or if they click on that particular letter, what I want you to do is play the appropriate sound for like 0.3 of a second. So that's what I was initially working on when I got started. And so I literally spent hours coding out HTML so that I could have a website that looked that bad, right? Like, because it is just a straight up HTML website. And of course, I did keep going, and I thought, hey, I've kind of got the basics of this coding down. Let me jump into WordPress. And if you haven't been in WordPress or it's a little unfamiliar, it's a popular platform to
Sorry, it brings back my first attempt memories. And I was like, okay, as much as I want to be this guy, I'm not this guy. And switched over to GoDaddy.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. There you go. They do it for you, right? Yeah. That's one of their things. No, I get it. I get it. Yeah. So WordPress, the reason I went there is because it powers something like 450 million. It's popular, like 450 million websites. What I did not know at the time before I started exploring it is that WordPress, like, it's got its own secret handshakes. And what I mean by that is, like, there's a process that you have to go through, even though they have templates that you can use that, kind of has a lot of the work already done for you. You have to know the secret handshake in order to get it to do what you want it to do. Case in point, in this example, if you want the page that you called your home page to be the home page, you have to know that you have to open up this dialog box, because by default, it's set to your latest posts, and you get something that maybe looks like this, or it's a different page that you didn't want it to be. And if you didn't know that you had to go in there and change it to static page and tell it which page you want it to be your home page, you're never going to get it to show the home page that you wanted it to show. And so, that, like, Carrie, you've been there. I've been there too. And so basically going from, my journey from here to here, like, I've been there, I know the frustration. And to kind of set the stage for the rest of what we're going to be talking about today, some of the things that I commonly see as I go through and I work with clients is, their site, like my HTML site, looks like something that crawled out of the 90s. And then I'm going to stop the share real quick there.
Hey, I resemble that remark as somebody who, crawled out of the 90s.
Nice. I like it. Yeah, grunge scene, all that good stuff. Yeah.
Right.
But let's see. So just at a glance, would you say that you know what that website was about? My guess is probably not, right? Like, because it didn't really have anything on there that said what it was. That happened to be Berkshire Hathaway's website, and they are it's a huge company, right? Like, they're worth $600 billion. If you want a piece of that company, like one share, I just looked it up a couple nights ago, is almost $500,000. So they are not making their money on their website, right? So they don't need their website to, like, I guess, for them, it's okay that their website looks like it crawled out of the 90s. So what I see oftentimes is that, clients, sometimes they need a facelift. The website needs a facelift. Sometimes it goes to the other extreme, and they've got a website that it looks gorgeous. Like, it looks absolutely beautiful, but it doesn't really do anything. And so this one, so web designers are notorious for just making their websites, their artwork. And this one, I read the little blurb on it. I literally Googled website design winner, and this is the one that came up, and it's the guy's name, and it's kind of like this weird, like, 3D video blurry thing that plays. And I read the description for it, and I still don't really know, aside from winning web design contests, I'm really sure not what the point of it is. And so you can go the other extreme and have, basically a brochure website. And then, so this is, kind of like the next level up. This is Amy Porterfield. She, is well known in the entrepreneurial world for things like getting, your email list going, stuff like that. So she's getting closer, right? Like, she has an amazing call to action button under all of that. And I think she gets away with it because of who she is. But if she's just saying, hey, I'm Amy Porterfield, like, that's cool. I kind of know who you are. I don't know what you do yet. So she's getting there. She's getting close. And then, kind of what our goal is to get to a place to where, we've got all the pieces in place, like, at a glance, you can see very quickly, this is a fitness website. You know, there's a couple reasons why this works. So they have the clear message up here. They have the call to action below that. They've done a really nice job of tying their image and their text together. So it's like this cohesive thing, right? Like her leg and her arms and her eyes are looking at what they do. So it naturally draws your eye to take a look at, you know, what it is that they want you to read initially. And so, you know, with that being said, you know, how would it feel to have a website that does the work for you, so that within seconds of somebody landing on your website, you are seen as the trusted advisor, the go-to expert in your field, and the one that has the solution that they've been looking for. And if your website is able to do these three things, it absolutely does the job of getting you leads on autopilot. And so what we're going to take a closer look at today is three things that will help you move the needle in that direction. And those three things are clear messaging, a well-placed and a well-designed call to action, and scannable headlines. And so to start, we'll take a look at clear messaging. So we took a look at the Berkshire Hathaway website, and it, you know, it fails in this department, right? There's no title. It's literally just an informational website where you can click and get a little bit more information. And the question, I guess, as it applies to us, is what is the cost if we fail to have a clear and concise message? You know, chances are that means people are clicking on your site and bouncing away before they ever realize, you know, how you can help them out. And they're probably not coming back. On the other hand, you know, we've got, you know, I gave this one the gold star because it kind of ticks all the boxes there. So essentially what you want to kind of keep in mind as you're going through and thinking about getting that clear, concise messaging up at the top is, what do you do? Who do you do it for? And what's in it for them? And so they have done a very good job of that here. So in just this one sentence here, get the tone physique you've always wanted, explains what they do. You know, their image here makes it very clear that the way that they do that, what they offer to do that, is kickboxing. And then who they do it for, you know, same sentence, it's people that want the physique that they've always wanted and are interested in kickboxing. And then what's in it for them? Well, of course, the tone physique that they've always wanted. So in just one phrase, they've basically ticked all of these boxes here. And so that's kind of what we're going for when we're talking about clear and concise messaging. And, you know, that's absolutely critical that it happens in this, you know, we call this the above the fold space. It's basically what you see on a website without having to scroll. And you definitely want that clear and concise messaging kind of throughout your website. And so the next one we'll take a look at is the well-placed and well-designed call to action. And we'll start with Amy Porterfield's website. She does, in fact, have a very nice call to action at the bottom there. And the one thing that I think I would probably change about that is it happens to be, and I know it was intentional on their part, but it does happen to be the same color as her blazer. So your eyes are kind of confused as to where they want to look. But what I do like about her call to action is it's very specific. It says, let's get started. And then if you just shift your eyes up a little bit, you can see, you know, in the bold print exactly what it is that you are getting started on. Another example of a call to action that's very specific and very clear is Basecamp's. So they have two of them. They happen to have two on their page. We have the pricing and the sign up call to action, and we have the try Basecamp for free call to action. And what I like about it is incredibly specific. So if you were thinking in your head, you know, I definitely want to try it for free. Do I need a credit card? They're answering that question right there. They're saying no credit card required, you know, cancel at any time. The only comment I guess I would make on this one is this kind of competes. It's in kind of a bold color, so it's kind of competing with that. But so that is another nice example, Basecamp's example. And then I went a little too fast there. This one is by far my favorite. And reason being that, oh, let me just ask you this.
Ooh,
What,
yeah, that's great with the orange and the purple together because, yep,
yeah,
that's the way to go right there because you have the darker colors and the black and white. So that's like the
exactly.
background and you go right to where the buttons are. That's really nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like Carrie was saying, because of the color choices they made, your eye, like the first thing your eye goes to is those orange buttons. And, again, they're very clearly saying quick wins report, very clear about what it is that you're getting when you click on the button. And if you're like, quick wins for what, they've got a very clear headline that says, oh, if I want more traffic and leads and sales from Google, like basically if I want help with my SEO, I want to click on that so I can get my free report. So just to kind of break down what we've been talking about for the well-designed and well-placed, one tip would be if you have the call to action on your website, but it's below the fold, like people have to scroll to get to it, go ahead and bump that up. Let it be above the fold, and it can be below the fold as well, but you definitely want it above the fold so people can see right away what it is that you have to offer them. And then like we were just talking about, put it in an attention grabbing color so that their eye is drawn to it. And then specific wording, like we don't want to just have like click here or submit or subscribe, right? You want to tell them what they're getting when they click on that. So that's a little bit more enticing for them to then go ahead and go for that. So that was our well-placed and well-designed call to action. And then we're going to move on to scannable headlines. And so essentially what you want for your headlines is for them to be clear and scannable, like spaced out well, so that it's, at a glance, somebody can tell the problems that you solve and the benefits of what it is that you do. And so this is definitely not the place to be cute or clever. You just want to be very clear about what it is. And a good rule of thumb is you want it to be written at the 8th grade reading level. And so just to kind of poke fun at the extremes, I did take a page from Lol My Thesis, and what they do is they take their thesis titles and they kind of poke fun at them. And so mine was hydrogeologic implications of 3D geologic mapping in Walworth County, Wisconsin, and McHenry County, Illinois. It's a mouthful, right? Kind of hard to tell what in the world it is that I'm talking about unless you are versed in academic ease. And so essentially, what that thesis is in normal people speak is I made some cool 3D maps that show that glaciers came through and buried a bunch of stuff and that there's water in them, our hills, right? And so like you kind of want to be, depending on your audience, yeah, depending on your audience, if you have an audience that likes to kind of play around like that, I mean, yeah, go for it. But you probably want to be somewhere in the middle, right? Yeah, absolutely, Carrie. Like cute and clever, it's hard to extract. Yeah, for sure. So, and when I'm talking about scannability, we're talking about basically what we're talking about is your use of space. So over here, this is like literally how Gucci displays their products. And then over here, we have how a thrift store would display their purses. And so what Gucci does differently and what they do very well is they give their products space. So if you notice over here, there's literally shelves that just have one product per shelf so that you can very clearly see and scan and take a look at, what exactly it is that they have to offer. Whereas over here, everything's just kind of stacked on top of each other. And it's kind of hard to see, exactly what it is that they are selling. You kind of have to go in there and take them down one at a time to see what it is that they are trying to showcase or trying to sell. And so this same idea applies to how you're laying out your headlines and your pages. So this is a snippet from one of Neil Patel's website. Neil Patel is like a big SEO guy. And it's just an example of giving your content, giving your headlines some breathing room so that people can see exactly what it is, you know, at a glance, what it is that your headlines are talking about. Whereas over here, you know, not so much, right? That's kind of like everything's all kind of squished in together. It's hard to tell what's going on. You know, it kind of looks like they sell a bunch of different things, but you know, there's just not enough space in there for you to really figure out what's going on. And so,
Speaking of 90s looking websites,
oh yeah, absolutely. That definitely looks like a time warp for sure. Yeah. So yeah, when it comes to your content and for people being able to easily consume it, especially your headlines, what we want to do is just give it some breathing room so that they can go in and just kind of quickly scan through and see if they're in the right place, you know, see if you have the answers that they are looking for. And so that was kind of in a nutshell, the three things, right? So making sure we have a clear message above the fold, making and really throughout the site, making sure that we do have a well-placed and well-designed call to action, again, above the fold and probably kind of throughout that first, that home page. And then making sure that we're giving some breathing room to our headlines and that they're clear, they have a clear message. So it's obvious to somebody who's just landed on the site, you know, how they can benefit from working with you. And so if we take all those three things and they're kind of like a package that all fits together to give you the result of people taking that action of, you know, clicking on the button, whatever that is. So basically, you know, those three things helping you move the needle towards people clicking or doing, you know, whatever it is that you're trying to steer them to do. So you're kind of like your web page, the way that you design it, you're kind of like their guide, right? Like you're kind of setting it up to guide their eyes through down to where you want them to go, and then to take the actions that you want them to take. And so we have just barely scratched the surface today as far as things that you can put into place to help your website, you know, design your website to be optimized for conversion rate. There's literally books that have been written about it. Steve Krug happens to be a guy that wrote the book on website design along the lines of conversion rate optimization. It's a good read if you got the time to check it out. But yeah, there's a lot more. There's definitely a lot more that goes into it than that. And so my question for you is, what is it that you would like your website to do? And like, so these are my boys. And so the reason I have a picture of my boys up here is they have gotten into, they've made up a new game, essentially is what they've made up. And their new game is Mommy Doesn't Sleep. And I swear they coordinate it. They're like, okay, you squawk at midnight just long enough for Mommy to wake up and then go back to sleep. And then I am going to call Mommy into the room so that she thinks that the boogie monster is in there, and tell her that I just want to be tucked back in again because I kicked the covers off. And then I think the cat's in on it too. I do. I think she's like the ringleader. And then the cat was like, hey, I will sing the song of my people at 6 o'clock in the morning. And then we'll call it game one. And so what I want my website to do, because I know that because they play this game, if I haven't had my cup of coffee and I'm talking to you and you want to book a call to talk about your website sooner, if it's me doing it, I'm probably going to get the booking time wrong. So I've designed my website so that you click on a button and it takes you to the calendar and it signs you up for it. If you could wave, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing for just a sec here. But if you could wave like a magic wand and make your website do like one thing, like what would that one thing be? Just curious, like you can type it into the chat or you can just talk.
Take people's money. I gotta get my, you know, like they can schedule something, but also I'm having something that they can just purchase without, you know, if they just want to move on. Some people want to talk about it, some people don't. I like to give people the choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to be able to take their money as soon as possible.
Yeah,
Be
no,
honest.
I like it. I like it. So like you might want, let's see, get people to schedule a free clarity call. I like it. Let's get ready. The cat started it. I like it. So, Carrie, you might want to do, I'm going to pop the screen up again. You might want to do something like Apple does this really well, to where I'm sorry if you're Android people, but Apple just happens to do a better job.
I am such a Windows and an Android person, but show me what you got and I'll figure it out.
Yeah, no, I just wanted, so they actually do a really
Yeah.
good job of, like, if you want more information, they give you that option, but if you want to buy now, they're going to go ahead and give you that option too. So I just want to, it's just, they
Oh,
do
okay.
a good job of it. So I'll just throw it up real quick,
Yeah.
just so you can see it. So yeah, so they've got, I like what they did, because their buy button is like, visually your eye is drawn to it more, and then learn more, like it's there, it's right next to it. But like they've designed it in such a way that your eye comes here first, and then it goes to learn more. So that might be something you want to play around with.
Can you time that buy button? So you have your above the fold. So that's the first thing that pops up when they log in.
Yeah.
If they were to scroll down, can you time that buy button so it's not right when they come on the page as a pop-up, but like a pop-up as they scroll down?
Yes.
Is that
Yes,
like a
you
real
can.
thing? Okay.
That absolutely. Yeah. So that is what's called a trigger event. And so as soon as, is that what you're talking, like, so when somebody scrolls, it pops up? Is that kind of what you're
Yeah,
at?
yeah. And it's just that's where I struggle the most, is learning the terminology. So I don't know how to look through the helps if I don't know what it's called, So trigger.
Yeah.
There you go. So if I had it like triggered at a certain, because GoDaddy, you have the different sections that you kind of like tweak.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I could have it like a trigger at section, I don't remember what it's called, the second section. I think it's like the about or something like that.
Yeah. You could do that. You could do that for sure. For sure. Yeah. You would just tell the fine folks at GoDaddy that you want a triggered pop-up, is essentially what it is. Yeah. That triggers on scroll. Yeah. All right. So we've got, okay, build your email list, keywords or tags for better Google visibility. And then, would it be appropriate to have a button to schedule a call? And next, to it, a learn more button link, which took you to a PDF describing why the, absolutely. Yeah. Just kind of, Jody, kind of just like we were talking about with Apple, you could have it could be very similar, right? So you could have your booking button on the one side, like that would be the one that their eye was drawn to. And then right next to it, you could have a learn more link that would take them to the PDF. You could absolutely do that. Yeah, for sure. Cool. I'm going to share my screen one more time here, and then we can just straight up open it up for more questions too. So the truth of the matter is, it's today what we talked about was kind of generic, right? General things that absolutely, if you implement them today, they would absolutely will move the needle in the right direction of getting your website optimized. But if you wanted a little more, right? Like if you wanted a custom fit for you thing, what you could do is go ahead and scan that QR code. What that does is take you to my Calendly page, where you can book a 30-minute call where, if you sign up for that, I'll go take a look at your website, and I'll do basically like a website audit and give you like a list of items specific to your site that would help move the needle in the right direction for you there. So with that, I do want to go ahead and open it up for questions. If you have any more, definitely feel free to pop them into the chat, or just hop on in. And if you had like, let me just ask you a quick question. Like, what would you say was like the best part of today for you? Like, what do you feel like is your best takeaway from what we talked about today? Feel free to type it into the chat, or just feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself and talk. Either one.
I think for me, the best part about today is, what, I've heard probably everything that you talked about already, probably 50 times, but to actually see the examples
Sure.
of the good and the bad like side by side, that really made everything come together.
Nice. Nice. Oh, I like that. I'm glad that helped. Awesome. Let's see. Call to action. I dig that, and putting it up front, do's and don'ts. I like it. I like it. Thank you for that feedback. Appreciate it.
It's just nice being in a smaller, less like, I don't know, like sometimes people get going on their webinars and it becomes this really like structured thing and they don't let you like, see the other people that I mean, it's just
Yeah.
nice. I like small.
Yeah.
I'm always one to support like a smaller operation because it's more fruitful. And I think what I pulled away the most was I think I might know more than I think I know.
Hey.
Like I might just be like overly nervous.
Yeah. No, I gotcha. And I think, I think too, a lot of things that people are worried about sometimes is like, oh man, if I go in and like start tinkering around on my website, I might break something. And you might, but that's why you make backups and it's all good. So funny. Let's see here. Thanks for the great call. Love the call to action section. Yeah. And I see it so many times where, 9 times out of 10, I'll pop onto a client site and it is like, oh, click here, submit. It's just not specific enough. And that, it's an easy fix, right? Like you just go in and change the text and off you go. Cool. You're welcome. Anything else before we wrap things up today? I love your takeaways. It's awesome. And I appreciate your all's time. It was fun hanging out. You guys were a fun group. I liked hanging out with you today.
I was like, oh man, it's over. But I don't know. I have my coffee. I was about ready to go get a Red Bull.
Oh, hey, there you go. Supercharge it. Yes, absolutely.
Last few days, I swear. There was, let's see. I had another question that was on the tip of my tongue.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, about sections.
Yes.
Speaking of.
Yes.
So I am actually like, I'm keeping, like there's only one text blurb and it's actually just below the fold. So like the call to action and like a graphic.
Yeah.
Like click here to do a thing. And then below there, then they call it an about. But I was thinking, and maybe not so much about me, put that on the next, so you have the menu on the side, instead of having the one page scroll down, because I kind of hate them a little bit.
Yeah.
Whereas everything's on the one page, like I want to be able to like, okay. Anyways, so I was gonna put that where like who I help, how I help them, as opposed to like about me. About me, I kind of feel like could be a little bit further back and kind of buried. Like what are your thoughts on like resume type stuff or like experience type stuff compared to what you do for them and the placement of that? Yeah,
absolutely. So I would say, the scroll, like long scroll versus like having a separate page, I would say it's kind of a personal decision, but what I would say is keep in mind that most of your people are coming through from mobile, so they might just want to be able to scroll. So just the about section should initially be about them. It should be about how you help them. I mean, eventually they're going to care about like about you, but initially they're really all they're interested in is knowing how you help them and how they would benefit from getting helped by you, for sure. Yep.
Well, thank you. I'm going to pop off of here and I scheduled a half hour to chat with you a little bit more.
All right, sweet. Appreciate it. Looking forward to chat. All right. Take care. Have a good one. Anything else before we go? Good to see you here, Mark. I appreciate it. Thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, thank you for the great call. And these website things are pretty familiar to me, but the call to action, you always put the website together, you look at the graphics, and then for me at least, last thing what I do is the call to actions, and they're not always optimal. So it's good to pay attention to them because they are essentially maybe the most important thing on a website, because
Yeah.
that leads the people taking the action.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. That's like that's like the whole job of the website, right? To-
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Absolutely. Yeah. Anything else? Anything else before we go? We're good. All right. Hey, I appreciate you guys being here. And I hope you have a we're gonna assume that, you know, today's officially Friday, right? Because it's after 2 somewhere. So I hope you guys have a good weekend, and maybe we'll chat soon again. All right, you guys take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.